Welcome, one and all. Today is Wednesday, March 18th, 2015, and this is our role play call number 3. Got a great turnout. This is really an open forum call, guys. I was telling Helen before we got started, the Thursday calls are logistics, nuts and bolts, issues, questions. It's kind of an open forum of what we can help you with. And the intent of this call is more for scripts and dialogues and practice and handling objections and that kind of thing. So I am answering my partner. He's going to be a little bit late, so that's fine. So I guess we'll start off. Does anybody have any places? I know a lot of you, Helen, I know a lot of you have just gotten your first set of leads, so you might not have had many conversations yet. Does anybody have any places that they have been getting stuck that the group can help you with? Any volunteers?
Do we have the Grove team on? Is that Diane Grove?
I think so. Stephanie and Diane, that's the Grove team, right?
Yes.
Yeah. You guys have been prospecting, right?
Yes, we have.
What's your toughest objection? What's working and what's not?
I keep seeming to have a problem with people getting all kinds of letters and calls before us.
Mm-hmm.
They're frustrated because we're number umpteenth person calling them.
Yeah. And have you asked them what the other people are offering, or are they just investors?
I just asked today, and one of them said it was mostly investors because they were looking for it as is.
So what I would recommend you try, hit it with positive affirmation, like right on the front. As soon as they say that, it's like, oh my gosh, you're telling me, I know. So many of the clients we help, they end up getting 15 letters from guys that are going to offer 50 cents on the dollar. And just understand, we're offering to, take a look at this and help you navigate the process. One of the things we do is we can bring you a cash offer, probably higher than that.
I have to call it back, Christina.
But we offer a lot of other things, and then kind of go through your list of, the options you provide. But affirm on the front end how frustrating that is, and you'll start to build rapport. You kind of break down that resistance. And you say,
no,
but we do things so differently.
I'm going to stay here for a little bit.
You with us, Diane, Stephanie?
Yeah, we're still listening.
Okay. Sounds like you had another call in the background there. I'm not sure if that was you. Yeah, you heard what Chad had to say, right?
Yeah, I heard all the way up until I heard another voice, and then I kind of got distracted.
All right. Okay, so I'll go through it again because somebody was talking during that. But what I would do in that case is, just affirm that, I can appreciate that it's really frustrating, I know. Let me just help you understand, we can bring you a cash offer and do anything that an investor can. We actually work with several investors, so we can bring you more than one offer. But we're reaching out because we offer a lot higher level of service, and we're going to provide options to you, and in the end, the choice is yours, so you can choose how we can help you. But and just remember, nothing we do is charged up front. So until we do exactly what we promise, you're not going to owe us anything. And
right.
Our goal is to make sure that we help you reach your goal and get the most amount out of the estate in the shortest amount of time. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does.
Okay. So tell me, Mr. Seller, is there a home that you guys would need help selling, or you'd like to know what it's worth, or is there any way we can help you? And you should break down that barrier just by showing them. It works. It's always worked for me. I mean, when you show them that you're in this for the right reason and you provide multiple options based on their goals, it usually just breaks down the walls and you can have a great conversation.
Right.
I was going to add to that also. I don't know if you all know, I was a realtor for 35 years. My claim to fame, I made 100 contacts a day, and people used to say to me, "How do you get so good at prospecting?" I used to say, "Hey, if you do anything 50,000 times, you're going to get pretty good at it." And one thing that I learned from my mentor that worked without fail is somebody's having a conversation in the background there. We may have to mute you out. one thing that works is if somebody's mad and you're Mr. Happy, they just get madder. The best way to get in rapport with somebody is to get mad with them. I'd call it expired. And you're the 300th person that called today. I'd say, I know, it's annoying, isn't it? They call right in the middle of dinner. And all of a sudden, it's hard to be mad at somebody who's mad with them. So if they're sick of investors, you don't need to cut down investors. But I would answer something like, yeah, you got 50 people wanting to buy your house for half price, right? And then get a little annoyed with them at that and say, and then you soften it a little bit. Investors, there's a legitimate role for an investor, for somebody who is desperate. They're in foreclosure. They need to sell very quickly. They provide value. But let me ask you, what's your situation? Do you need a quick sale? And then start asking the questions. And you'll notice that Stephanie or I don't know if that was Stephanie or Diane. That's one of the reasons we give you the investor options, because we know that's going to be all the letters reference investors. We know that's going to be your biggest competition. And so if they're annoyed with the investors, then you get a little bit annoyed too. And somebody was asking me the other day, how do you know when you talk to them if they're going to be an investor or a realtor candidate, or a regular listing candidate? Most of the time, if they are a quick sale candidate, they need an investor, you probably wouldn't be able to do an ordinary listing if you tried. And if they're an ordinary listing, you're not going to be able to get them to look at an investor offer if you tried. They're going to pretty much qualify themselves. And how do you find out their situation? Like Chad said, just ask them good questions.
Right.
So are you a candidate for an investor? It doesn't sound like it. Oh, okay, great. So what is your situation?
Or another really good question that I use, and this is probably the best question I've ever used in my listing business in general. So, Mr. Seller, tell me if in a perfect world, when would we be signing the closing documents? What's a perfect target date? And what that tells me, pretty much inside of 30 days, they're highly motivated. 30 to 60, they're reasonable and they'll make a good conventional listing. If they're 90 days or more and just want to test the market, which is very uncommon in probate, then you've got some work to do. You've got to get back in the reality. But the target date question is a really good way to flush out, what level of motivation they have. And some people will say like yesterday, and you need to talk about cash options then.
Okay, thank you.
Perfect. No,
Jim,
thank you.
It's a sidebar, but I love the story. Tell the story about you when you were a book salesman and you went from the front door to the side door.
Yeah, when I was in college, a friend of mine, convinced me to go sell condensed encyclopedias door to door. And they used to teach us that somebody comes to the front door, you knock on the front door, and they just curse you out. Just go around to the side door, and as soon as they answer, say, well, you seem a lot happier than the guy in the front of the house. And I probably did that 10 times, and I never had anybody shoot me or pull a gun on me or anything. 90% of the time, they just start laughing. You got to have a sense of humor. It's somebody died, but selling the house isn't life or death. And if you have a little bit of a fun with it, it disarms people. So it's the same thing with your question. Come over to the top. You got 100 people calling you looking to steal the house, and it's probably not as bad as they're saying. So
I have another question.
Sure.
So what do you do for those people that say, I didn't think they had any property. Do you have something showing? No?
Well,
go ahead, Chad.
So, Mr. Seller, we actually go into the courthouse. We pull records for all probates, and we don't know who has and has not sold the property or who owns property. So, it's just something that we kind of do as a community service. So, if there's anybody that could use help navigating that process, please hang on to the letter and give it to them. And we'll make note here that there's no property that you need help with. Fair enough? Okay. Is there anybody that comes to mind right now that you can think of that we might be able to help? And we've got tons of stories from our subscribers that have listed homes that had nothing to do with probate, because they called the executor and they're like, oh, well, I need to put my house on the market anyways, and you seem like you really have a different approach, and they get the listing just like that. So don't be afraid of those phone calls. Just kind of look at it as a branding opportunity and a chance to tell somebody, hey, we're the local experts in navigating the probate inheritance process. And even if there's not a death, even if if someone's gone into an extended care facility, our skill set translates perfectly into that. So if you happen to know anybody that goes into a nursing home or a family that inherits a property, we'd love to have the opportunity to help them out.
Great, thank you.
Excellent. We have a tremendous turnout today, guys. Is there any, and it's funny, in the last couple of calls we talked mostly about people's fears of what people might say, and that's okay too. Is there something you're running into that's stopping you, or is there something that you're afraid is going to come up that you don't know how to handle? Anybody? Thank you.
Hello, I've got one.
Okay, who's that?
Bud Thompson, Omaha, Nebraska.
Hey, Brett, thank you. Go ahead.
Okay, so I'm getting a lot of, well, not a lot, but when I get a hold of somebody that did have real estate property, they'll say, I'll say, is there any real estate property involved in this estate that you might need some help with? And they'll say something like, oh, it's sold or it's under control. And it's very terse and it's very tight, and I'm sensing it's like the lady that was just on, that they've been beat up by investors over the 3 weeks maybe or more that since the probate case hit the public. So, that to me is almost like hitting a brick wall. What's a good question to ask them when they've said, hey, it's sold or it's, we've got it under control, what's a good way to come back at that? And because I don't believe them when they're saying it's sold. but so far I've just been saying thank you for your time and moving on. But
if your gut's telling you that it's not really sold, it's probably not. Like you sound like you've done enough prospecting. But so I would say, oh, okay, well, Bud, I understand. Just wanted to make sure you understand, what we do and kind of why we reached out in the first place, just in case you or somebody could benefit from what we do. We actually have a team of people who specialize in helping families navigate the probate process. So whether that means selling a home quickly for cash or doing a full renovation or just getting it ready for the conventional market, we've got everything in place to get that done in the shortest amount of time for the most amount of money. So if anything changes or there's anyone else we could help, please pass the letter along, and we'd love the opportunity to work with them. And I think what you'll find is if they're BSing, they're going to say, all right, well, Bud, listen, we haven't really sold it. Just all these damn investors keep, bothering us, and we get all this stuff, and we just lost Dad, and they'll bust wide open. Like once and that's what I call a probate USP, your unique selling proposition. Once you can get that out there and you can articulate the value and the options that you provide, people just melt and they will unload and you'll get the entire story. And some of them you'll find, yes, they probably did sell it because they sold it before the death or, to cover medical bills or whatever. But the ones that are BS, I think that you'll find if you just get really good at getting your value statement out there and reminding them why you reached out in the first place, once they understand you're coming from the right place and you're a different class of professional, you can offer a lot more than the we buy houses, yellow letters that are on the coffee table. The tone of the conversation changes.
Okay, that's good. I really like that. I'll do that.
And the only thing I was going to add, if you go through all that and it's still dead air, then I would probably say, so if you don't mind me asking, when you say you've got it handled, does that mean it's sold? Maybe direct a question back to them. And
Yeah. Well, I did try yesterday saying, okay, just out of curiosity, I bumped into some investors. Did you sell it wholesale or did you sell it on the retail MLS market? That seemed to help a little bit. And they said, okay, we sold it MLS. We sold it in a couple of days. And so it turned out it was legitimate in that 1 out of 4. But the other three, I was really smelling a rat. So.
Yeah,
but if you do that, like if you corner those other 3 with that question, you're just going to further ignite that situation. So
yeah, you're right.
Take a softer approach and just offer, just say, here's why I do this and what I do. If there's anybody and give them the opportunity to speak up and say, oh, bud, I'm just frustrated. And I've had this happen. And they'll just say, you know what, I'm just frustrated. It's all these damn letters have shown up, and these people have been by here offering me 50 cents on the dollar, and then just affirm it, and be empathetic and say, what, I understand, but there is a place for those, and Jim had really good language for that. There's a place for investor offers, and that's one of the things we can look at with you. I mean, we work with a book of cash investors, and we can bring you an offer quickly, and probably with more legitimate than some that you've heard. But there's a lot of other things that we can sit down and show you, the possibilities. And really, at the end of the day, it depends on your goals, and we'll let you make the choice on how we can best serve you guys. So I've got a spot on Friday. We try to meet on Fridays or Mondays to look at properties. What would Friday at 3 work for you? And just go straight for the appointment, and then you can backfill all the details. But if you can kind of get moving in the right direction and just talk about how you can benefit them, not, in a really soft way, I think you'll find that the other three, I bet you one of those three will step up and vent their frustrations. And once they do that, you're building rapport instantly.
That's very good. I really like your demeanor and the way you're approaching that. I'll have to listen to this recording a few times, but I do like that. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. And by the way, Chad, tell. It seems like 90% of these people are on the people with us on the call today are relatively new. Just in case anybody doesn't know, you do have incoming and outgoing scripts in the members resource area. Would you tell everybody where to find that?
If you look under step 5 and subscriber resources, there's 2 role plays, one with me as an agent and one with me as the executor. And what I encourage everybody to do is print off. There's also a document in there called the Probate Seller Interview Sheet. And I made that in Microsoft Excel so you can edit it and customize it and really use it, make your own language. But print that sheet off and look at the top to bottom progression and listen to that role play. So there's a certain order that I go through everything, and it's through the result of a lot of trial and error. It's hard for me to write scripts because there's so many different variables in this type of listing. There are some printed scripts that are in just Microsoft Word format. They're more investor heavy on the front. Like the scenario is more of hi, my name's Chad. I have a cash buyer that would like to purchase a home in your neighborhood, along those lines. I don't always approach it that way. So between the two, the written scripts, there's an inbound and outbound written script, but there's also the recorded role play calls. They're about 15 minutes each, and then that seller counseling interview sheet. So if you go through those resources, you'll get a good feel for the initial conversation, the different.
Where are those resources again?
Everything I just discussed is under step 5 and subscriber resources.
Step 5.
Okay. You know where subscriber resources is, right, on the website?
Subscriber access? Oh, yeah, subscriber resources, yeah.
And if you scroll down, you'll see a footprint with a 5.
So it's under number 5, okay.
Yeah. So look for the probate seller interview sheet, the role play with me as the realtor, role play with me as the agent or the seller, and then the written inbound and outbound scripts. And those 5 things will you'll feel a lot more confident about your initial conversations after going through that.
All right.
I'm trying to drown out that background noise, guys. Bear with me. Somebody's got the radio playing or something in the background. It's a little bit distracting, but I'm going to find it and drown it out. Who else, guys? Good questions, good calls so far. We got time for maybe 2 or 3 more. Anybody else have anything they need any places they're getting stuck? Or
I got something again.
Great, please, go ahead.
So what about those people that we call and they actually still live at the property?
I would say, well, listen, that's great. Have you thought about your future. Do you have plans of downsizing? Not that we ever try to force them around their home, but if we could help you understand what the home is worth and kind of put together a long-term strategy, if you want to sell down the line. Have you given any thought to that? And I think you've got to feel the situation out. And if it's an 84-year-old widow that's absolutely crushed, don't say that. You just find a more subtle way. It just depends on the situation and who you're speaking with. If it's a kid who was living there taking care of their parents, they're probably going to sell the property and get back to their life. They probably didn't want to be living there doing that, but they felt obligated to. So I think you'll get a feel for the situation. But I would ask, is one of the key questions I always ask is there a property that you're thinking about selling, or a property that we could you could use any help with? And if they say, well, yeah, there is, but we're not selling, you can say, okay, well, listen, would it be all right if we touch base maybe in a month or two and just see? We can help. We help a lot of different folks. We do probate, but we also do conventional sales, and we like to help as many people as we can in the community. So if there's a chance that you think you'll sell in the future, is it okay if we follow up? And just mark them for follow-up and touch them in a month or two, because they might not be ready now. I find a lot of people 6, 8, 9 months down the line will completely change their mind and be ready to go somewhere. And chances are, so a couple of things about that too. Because there was a life event, they probably inherited money. The average inheritance in the United States is just over $176,000. And usually about 80% of that's locked up in real estate. Depending on what market you're in, it could be, drastically different. That's just an average. But that they've inherited the house, and they've most likely inherited some money along with it. So they might not be there yet, but in 3 weeks they might have got on Zillow, looked at some houses, started dreaming, and they may want to sell that house, combine it with the cash they inherited, and buy a nicer home. So I would just find a way to ask them what their plans are subtly, without trying to seem like you're trying to push them out.
And then I like the fact, close it out by asking permission to call back later.
Yeah.
Very very few people are going to say, no, don't ever call me again. Most people are going to say, okay, sure, you can check back with me. Good way to finish it. Excellent. Well, guys, we have time for maybe one or two more. Who has something else they want to role play? Anybody?
I have one.
Please, go ahead.
This is Sandra Glazer calling.
Hi, Sandra.
In making my phone calls, I had one person who was very nice, but basically told me that he's the executor of the estate where the mother and father had passed away, but that the house is now underwater. And he really didn't see a benefit in selling the property because he felt that the property would not provide any money to the estate.
Okay, so let's jump into that.
Yeah.
And you be Mr. Seller, Sandra. So, all right. Well, Sandra, tell me, how do you know that the home's underwater? Did you have it appraised, or did you have another agent look at it? Like, how did you determine that?
Because he knew what the properties were selling in that neighborhood.
Okay, so have you had an appraisal or a BPO, or are you just going by what you remember about what's happened in the neighborhood?
I didn't ask him that, but that's a good question.
Okay. So here's what I'd like to do, Mr. Seller. I look at houses on Fridays and Mondays. I've got a spot on Friday at 3. If it's okay, I'd like to get some more information from you today. I'll do some research. I'm not going to charge you anything. We do this as part of our service. But I'd like to sit down and kind of look at your options with you face to face. And if in fact it is underwater, we actually have a short sale department, or we have a team that we refer our short sales to, or whatever you do with those underwater properties. Or we can introduce you to attorneys that can discuss the options, for over-leveraged assets. There's a lot of different things you can do, but what we want to know first is, do you in fact have negative equity? And once we determine that, we can kind of lay out the best strategy for you. Does that sound fair? Okay, so is Friday at 3 a good time for you? Can you meet me over at the house? Great, I'll see you there. So I would still go on the appointment, because you have the opportunity to refer it out to a short sale agent if you don't do them yourself. You have the opportunity to refer it to a loan mod company or a bankruptcy attorney, or depending on, there's a lot more details you have to get about the situation. But the better you can understand it, and you know, the more you know about the property, you can kind of pull in those team members like lenders and loan mod guys and BK attorneys. And even if you don't get paid, you can bring some value to the situation. And one thing is certain, you know, we're all gonna die eventually, and everybody is going to know a family who inherits real estate, and every family that inherits real estate will benefit from a higher class of professional to help deal with that transaction. So again, even if you just help him for free now and connect him with a bankruptcy attorney that can clear that bad debt off the estate, when he goes to sell his primary home, or if he inherits another home, or you know, whatever happens, you're going to be the only realtor in the world to him because you gave him more value than he ever expected.
And Sandra, let me add to that. I don't, some of you may know this, but my wife and I have a short sale company. We've done over 2,000 short sales over the last 8 years, and the short sales are still out there. And just things that we have been surprised. We've probably had a dozen people, probably more, probably 20 or 25 over the last years that the property was upside down, but for various reasons they didn't want it to go to foreclosure. It could be anything from there are other assets in the estate, and we don't want the lender coming after them, to we've had a number of people just say, you know, I can remember the mortgage is USAA, you know, and my dad always liked them, and we feel bad sticking the lender with the foreclosure. And we've even had people say, you know, we would like the house to go to somebody good. You know, I know my dad would like that. So the one thing you might want to impress on them, that even if nothing bad is going to happen, or probably won't happen if they let it go to foreclosure, it's not, when there's a death like that, typically it's not a hassle for the executor to fill out a whole bunch of paperwork. You don't need financials. Really all you need is a copy of the death certificate. Find somebody, you know, we'd be glad to do it for you, or find somebody who's good at short sales and have them, if you submit a copy of the death certificate and a copy of the fact that that person's the executor, there's nothing else that really has to be done. So I guess where I'm coming at is, if nothing else, you could appeal maybe to their sense of doing the right thing, you know, trying to find a nice buyer for the house, and it's not going to be any work for you, Mr. and Mrs. Seller. You know, wouldn't you like a nice person to end up in your mom and dad's house? And we've just had so many people do that. It's kind of surprised us. I've wanted to say to people, well, why would you do that? It's, you know, there's nothing in it for you. But people don't always. People are sometimes more motivated by things other than money, is the point I'm trying to make. So,
okay.
So ask those extra questions and let them know that you could still dispose of it as a short sale if it is upside down, and there really wouldn't be anything required from them other than giving you authorization.
Okay,
that make sense?
Fair enough. Thank you.
Okay, sure. Well, we've come full circle, guys. We've covered short sales. We've covered probate. We got probably time for one more question. Anybody else, or one more thing you want to role play? It was a good call, guys, and we're actually just a couple minutes over. We're like a minute or two over. So my partner Tim is on there. Tim, anything you want to add? I thought he was on there. Maybe not. All right, guys. Well, thank you. We recorded this call. Chad, where will the call be? Are you going to post it somewhere on the website if anybody wants to go back and listen to it?
We still haven't gotten the audio player, all the bugs worked out there. I'll post it on the Facebook Mastermind group for sure.
Okay. Excellent. And for all of you that are not part of the Facebook Mastermind group, you really should be, guys. It's a great place to go and brainstorm between these role-play calls, between the mastermind calls with people. It's a good place to throw out a question, too. And I think we have about 300 people that belong to that mastermind group now. If you throw a question like we've had today out there, I'll bet you there's somebody on the call that can give you a good answer. So, Chad, let's close today by telling them where to sign up for the Facebook Mastermind group if they're not members.
In subscriber resources, if you scroll all the way to the bottom, you can click a link directly from there, or you can just go to the search bar in Facebook and type in All the Leads Mastermind. Mastermind is one word, and just click join group, and we'll let you in.
All right, guys. Well, I appreciate you taking the time today. Yeah, please, everybody, come back tomorrow, 1 hour earlier, 1 o'clock Eastern time, and please come to our mastermind calls. And Chad and I have a request. When you get experienced and successful at this, come back to the mastermind calls, please, and share your success stories with the rest of the group. Thank you guys for taking the time today. Appreciate it, and we'll talk to you tomorrow. Have a great day.